There's a good chance you're living through some of the best days of your life right now, and you don't even realize it. Not because everything is perfect, not because you have everything figured out, but because one day you're going to look back at this exact version of your life and realize there were things you didn't know you were going to miss. And that's a weird thing about life. You usually don't know you're living through a good day until it's already become a memory. Think about how strange that is. When you're a kid, you don't wake up on a random Saturday morning and think, I should really appreciate this. Someday I'm going to miss being this age. You don't think about it. You just wake up, you eat breakfast, you play outside, you get on the Xbox, go to a friend's house, you stay up later than you're supposed to, and then you go to bed, and then do it all over again tomorrow. You don't know you're creating memories. You're just living. And I think that's what makes those memories so powerful when we look back at them. We didn't know they were important. I think about some of the most ordinary moments from my life, things that meant absolutely nothing to me at the time. A random night playing games with friends, sitting around talking about nothing, getting in the car and going somewhere without really having a reason. A summer where every day seemed to last forever. Even just being home with everyone in the house, knowing the people you loved were right there. None of those moments felt special. They were just normal. And that's probably why I remember them so clearly now, because eventually normal changed. I think that's one of the hardest parts about getting older. Your life doesn't usually change all at once. It happens so gradually that you don't notice it. You stop seeing certain friends every day, then every week, then every few months. You don't play the games you used to play. You don't go to the places you used to go. People get jobs, people move, relationships change. Your family gets older. You get older. And one day you realize you haven't done something you used to do in years. And you can't even remember exactly when it was you stopped. There was never a final moment, no announcement, no goodbye. Life just moved on. And I think we spend a lot of our lives waiting for the next version. We think things will be better when I have more money, or when I have a better job, when I move out, when I get into better shape, when I meet someone, when I figure out what it is I'm doing, when I finally become the person I think I'm supposed to be. And there's nothing wrong with wanting those things. Of course, I still want them. I think it's good to have something you're building toward. But sometimes I wonder how much of our actual life gets overlooked while we're waiting for it to begin. Because what if the life you're waiting for isn't the only life worth appreciating? What if this one matters too? The weird in-between stage, the uncertainty, the small apartment, the parents you still live with, the job you don't know if you'll have it forever, the friends you're slowly growing apart from, the person you're becoming, before you even know who that person is. What if this chapter, the one you keep thinking you're supposed to outgrow, is also a chapter that you'll miss? I think about that a lot right now, because I'm old enough to remember things that feel like another lifetime, but I'm still young enough to realize I have no idea what the next 10 years are even going to look like. And that's a strange place to be. You're not a kid anymore, but you don't necessarily feel like the adult you imagined you'd become. You start realizing that everyone around you is figuring things out too. The people you thought had life completely figured out don't. Your parents are getting older. Your friends are going different directions. And suddenly, time doesn't feel infinite anymore. That's when you start noticing things you didn't notice before. A conversation with your parents that you probably won't remember word for word, but someday you might wish you could hear it again. A friend laughing at something stupid, driving somewhere with the windows down, coming home after a long day, the sound of someone moving around the house, a familiar room, a familiar voice, a routine you don't particularly like, but you've known it for years. You don't think this is going to be one of the memories I miss. You just think this is Tuesday. And maybe that's the point. Maybe the good days aren't always the days where something amazing happens. Maybe they're the days that feel so ordinary that you don't realize how much is being given to you. There's something in scripture that I've been thinking about more lately. There's a line in Psalm 90 that says, teach us to number our days carefully so that we may develop wisdom in our hearts. I don't think that means we should become obsessed with time. I think it means we should become aware of it because our days are limited. And when you actually understand that, an ordinary day starts to look a little different. I'm not saying you should romanticize everything. Some days genuinely do suck. Some seasons are going to hurt. Some things need to be changed. You shouldn't stay somewhere you're miserable just because someday you might miss it. And you shouldn't stop chasing the life that you want. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something much smaller. While you're building the next chapter, don't completely forget to live inside this one. Because someday you're going to have things you've wanted for a long time. Maybe you'll have the career you wanted. Maybe you'll have your own place. Maybe you'll have a family. Maybe you'll have more money than you do now. Maybe you'll finally feel like you've become the person you've been trying to become. And I hope you get all of those things. I really do. But I also hope that somewhere along the way, you remember the person who was trying to get there. The person who didn't have it figured out. The person who was still learning, still making mistakes, still trying, still waking up every morning wondering what he was doing. Because that person mattered too. I've started thinking that maybe we don't actually miss the past as much as we think we do. Maybe we miss how we felt inside it. We miss having fewer questions. We miss certain people being closer. We miss how long summer felt. We miss being excited about something small. We miss not knowing that things were about to change. And maybe that's why nostalgia can hurt so much. Because you aren't just remembering a place or a person. You're remembering a version of yourself that you can't completely go back to. But there's something beautiful about that too. Because if you're lucky, there are good days you haven't lived yet. There are people you haven't met, places you haven't seen, versions of yourself you haven't become. There are memories waiting for you that you don't know are memories yet. And I think that's worth remembering when life feels uncertain. You haven't missed everything. You're still in the middle of it. So maybe tonight, don't wait for something bigger to happen before you decide your life is worth appreciating. Look around. Really look at the people you still have, the places you still go, the routines you complain about, the little things you normally ignore. Because one day, one of these ordinary moments will be the moment you wish you could have back. And the strange part is, you won't know which one it is. You don't get a notification. You don't hear a song telling you, remember this, it's the last time. You just live it. And then, years later, you remember. Maybe that's what it means to grow up, not constantly trying to get back to the life you had, but learning to recognize the life you're in. Because someday, you're going to look back at yourself right now, and you're probably going to miss something about this life. Maybe more than one thing. Maybe you'll miss the people. Maybe you'll miss the freedom, the uncertainty. Maybe you'll even miss the problems you're so desperate to solve. And when that day comes, I hope you can look back and say, I didn't realize it at the time, but those were the good days. So while you're waiting for life to become something, don't forget that it already is something. You're here. You're becoming. You're living through days you'll never get back. And maybe some of them are already the good days.